Normal people. Rain. That's fine. Tell you, my hair be looking. Good morning. It is Thursday. This is going to be the first full weekly vlog that I do, reading wise. I just woke up, which is why my hair looks like this and my face looks like this. It'll calm down. It's just red from the pillow. But I'm gonna put it down for a second. So, welcome to my first weekly reading vlog. It's gonna be Thursday to Thursday this week. I am off Thursday and Friday, and then I have to work Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Most of this vlog is gonna be my reading on today and tomorrow, but I'll periodically jump in a little bit throughout the week because I'm probably gonna end up finishing the books I start this weekend while I'm at work. I'm gonna go make myself look presentable. I'm gonna go get a coffee. I have to walk, go get my coffee, and then I'm gonna sit down and do a recap of what I read this week because I read some really good books this week and I want to talk about it, and I think that's what we're gonna do in these weekly vlogs. I just wanted to hop in and say hey before I got ready for the day. I don't really have a solid plan of what I want to read this week. I possibly might want to get to 7 Days in June. I have the audiobook and the Kindle book, so that would be perfect. I wanted to sit by the pool and read that this weekend, but looks like it's gonna rain. That's fun. Possibility. I need to finish. I have 1 hour. 1 hour. I have 1 hour left in, oh my gosh, I forget the title. Needless thing. I'll put up on the screen. It's a sapphic coming of age basketball romance. Love this so far. Really good. I finished that. Possibly read 7 Days in June. That might be the plan. It might not be the plan because I also got a new video game. It's like a remake trilogy of the Spyro games. I'd like to start on the first one. I am just really in the mood and need for a full immersion escape. So I don't know if I want to do an audiobook and a cozy book pairing. I think I want a full regular platform video game. I like playing really old video games, so I think I might play this. Possibly. Got a meal prep tomorrow and grocery shop tomorrow, so that's probably gonna take up my whole day. I gotta clean the fridge out at some point, but we'll see. And I'd like to watch a movie. I always like to watch a movie, at least one on my days off. So it's either gonna be After Sun, which I tried to watch last week, but my week went very awry, so that didn't happen. So it's either gonna be, like I said, After Sun or Stand By Me. Slash, I am currently watching the Off-Campus series like everyone else in the world. If you don't know what Off-Campus is, it's like a hockey romance series that was based off of a interconnected standalone romance series, which I read the books, I think maybe a year or 2 years ago, and that was when I was deep in reading romance, and I really enjoyed them more. I've never read a hockey romance that didn't kind of make me want to throw up in my mouth, but this series did it pretty well, and it was a college romance. So I started the show. I'm on episode 5. Yeah, I'm on episode 5. So I may or may not watch an episode or 2 of that today. See how I'm feeling. So that's the possibilities. 7 Days in June, possibility. After Sun, possibility. Stand By Me, possibility. Watch some more Off Campus, possibility. watch some Spyro. These are gonna be weekly reading vlogs, but I have a lot of hobbies and I like to watch movies and TV shows, and specifically movies, and I want to do vlogs where I can talk about all of the art that I'm consuming rather than just reading, but reading is the main art that I consume. So, I'm yapping on, but I hope all of that made sense. So, I'm gonna go get ready for the day. I'm gonna go walk and get some coffee, and then I'm gonna come back. I don't have creamer, which I could just go get creamer, but I kind of want Starbucks. I wish I had a better coffee shop by me that I could walk to, but I don't. I have a Starbucks across the street. So, I'm gonna go get Starbucks, come back. I think I'm gonna sit down, and I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of like a weekly update of what I read at work. I listen to audiobooks at work, and so usually I'm able to finish a good bit. So I'll give you my little weekly update of what I read this week. And then, I don't know, then the world really is my oyster. This weekend really is my oyster. I don't know, I'm a weirdo. Okay, coffee. I need coffee. They're working on the upstairs apartment, so I really hope that you can't hear that. I'm hoping the headphones helps that a little bit. But hi, it's been a couple of hours, and I got my coffee, and I was gonna sit down and I was gonna talk to you guys while I ate my breakfast. But I got distracted because I really wanted to clean the house. I ended up doing that first. But yeah, let's do a little bit of a weekly reading update. I want to do this, like I said earlier, I want to do this for all of my like weekly reading vlogs. I work in a warehouse. I'm allowed to have headphones on, and I do a very basic job. So I can listen to books and feel like, honestly, I'm more focused on the book than I am the job, because the job is so simple. So I get through lots of books, and so I figured if I do these vlogs that are mostly the weekend but a little bit into the week, at the beginning of every vlog I can do like a weekly reading update of everything that I read while I was at work. So let's just do that. So I finished 2 books this week, and then I almost finished one, which we'll get to. I have 45 minutes left. I finished 2 books this week, and both those books were Sunburn and Normal People. I am so deep in a like literary fiction romance hole. Anytime that something hard-ish happens in my life, I flock to romance. I have really fallen out of love with contemporary romances. I much more prefer like a literary fiction that has like a heavy romance plot. So that's kind of why these 2 books. I have been putting off Normal People for an insane amount of time. I just knew that this book was going to be everything to me, and so I think I just like kept putting it off because I knew that. I have no idea, but it's a thing I do often. And then Sunburn, this is a book that is on my 26 books of 2026. It's also on my summer TBR. This is a book that I like needed to get to, and last weekend I went and bought physical copies of both of these, but then ended up getting the audiobook and reading them at work. But I'm glad I have physical copies. So let's start with Normal People. Yeah, let's start with Normal People, because I think I have less to say about Normal People. Let's start with Normal People. So Normal People, for me, I did something bad. I watched the show first. I know. Okay, so what had happened was, I knew that I was gonna love this book, and I had been saving the show for when I finally read this book. But
I was in a bit of a mood, and I didn't want to literally do anything the entire day. And I was like, you know what? I want to watch like a mini series, a show that has one season that's like 6 to 12 episodes. And I was in a very specific vibe. I wanted a very emotional story that had great acting and a great like very sad and great characters, and I didn't want it to have a lot of humor in it. So I decided on Normal People, and I was like, damn, I should probably read the book first, but I'm like, you know what? I want to watch Normal People, so I'm just gonna do it. And you know what? I did. And then you know what I did after I finished the entire 12 episodes in one day? I went to the store and bought Normal People. Do not. I watched the entire show. I finished the book in 24 hours. So I watched the show in 24 hours, read the book the next 24 hours, and had to do everything in my power not to restart the show. I'm going to watch the show again, but I'm currently watching Off Campus, so I decided to wait on that. But I almost watched the show again. I know that Normal People, and at this point, if you don't know what Normal People it is about, it's about Connell. It's about Connell and Marianne. They live in a small town in Ireland, and it's essentially about these two people who are very, very different, but also very, very similar. And it takes you through a large span of their life where they keep meeting and separating and meeting and separating. And it's one of those stories about a romantic pairing where they just never quite, it's the right person, but it's never the right time, which I eat up, honestly. And this was so good. I don't feel like I have anything new to say that the entire internet and the rest of the world hasn't already said. So the only thing that I will say about the book, I kind of want to talk about like the book and the show like as the same thing, because the only thing I really want to talk about is the ending. And I won't spoil the ending for anybody who wants to like read it or watch it. The only thing I will say is I don't know if I interpreted it wrong, and it's cool if I did, and you can tell me if I interpreted it wrong. But I felt like I liked the way that the show interpreted the ending versus the book's ending. The scenes, the last scene of the show and the last scene of the book are the exact same. It's really cool how that can happen. They're the same scene. But maybe it's because you're in their head in this versus you're not in their head in the show. You're seeing it from like a pulled back perspective. You're seeing it from the outside. You're not in any of the characters' heads, so you don't know like what they're thinking as they're saying things. But the show had this kind of bittersweet ending. Again, I'm trying not to say it spoilery. I guess the best thing that I can just say is ending of the show felt way more like optimistic. That the story ended the way it ended. It had this kind of optimistic flair. If you want like details of what I'm saying, comment down below and I'll put spoilers and I can explain it. But it had this kind of optimistic feel that the ending was the way that this ended. Whereas the book, the ending kind of felt like a few of the other scenes. I don't know how to say that, I guess, without spoilers, but I don't know. I guess the only thing that I can say is I liked the way the ending of the show made me feel. I was in tears on that last scene, and I can recognize that maybe the ending of the book didn't affect me as hard as the ending of the show because I watched the show first. But knowing me and knowing my taste, I don't think the book would have I don't think the book would have made me cry, but the show made me cry. But I think they are both phenomenal in their own ways. I think there are different things that I would argue like some did better than the other. I would also say that if you're someone like me and you maybe have been putting off the show or book and you know it's for you, like this is a 287 page book that is an entire miscommunication. Like this book is just 287 pages of miscommunication. So if you can't handle that, don't even pick it up because it's going to piss you off. But if you're somebody who maybe decided to watch the show and you feel like, oh, I don't need to read the book, I would say still read the book. Because I know, in my personal opinion, when I finished the show, I was like, wow. And then the second thing I was like, okay, I think I want to see some of these scenes from the POV of these characters. I kind of want to understand where some of these characters' brains were at during certain scenes. Like, specifically, for people who have read it, the second kind of stint of them completely missing each other, that scene, I wanted to see how that scene was in the book. I wanted to see what each character heard in their head. And there was multiple scenes like that. So I would still say that if you read or you watched the show, I would still read the book, because I think that if you loved one, you're gonna love the other. Like, this just gives you a little bit more context. But they did such a good job. If I would have read this first, I would have been worried because of the way it jumps in time and the way that the structure of this book is written is so unique. I would have been worried how they would have interpreted that into a show, but they did such a good job. I'm really proud of how they interpreted the show. Like, I really am. Yeah, 5 stars. I gave the book 5 stars. I read it so quickly. Moving on to Sunburn. I'm so excited to talk about this book. So this book is I'll say it's a summer coming of age story about 2 girls. It's about this main girl. It's her point of view throughout the whole thing. This is also an Irish book. I clearly had a vibe going on. It's set in an Irish small town. It's about Lucy, and we're following Lucy the entire time. And Lucy has been infatuated with someone who is a part of her like girlfriend group named Savannah. The events leading up to the book, she is obsessed with this girl. You can tell that she's starting to realize that her infatuation is queer. You're starting to realize, like, I think that she knows, but I don't think she fully has gotten there that that's what it is, that she's gay and that she's infatuated with this person because, like, she's gay. And so it's this coming of age during this one summer where Lucy and Savannah get very, very close to each other. And then you see kind of what happens after that summer. It does span past this particular summer, but I would say that this is a phenomenal book for the summertime because a lot of the beginning is set in that summer and it calls back to that summer a lot. And so you get a lot about them being in bathing suits and tanning in their garden and smoking weed together. It's a very specific vibe I see in my head. I could make a Pinterest board that looks like this book, 100%. But yeah, then after that summer ends, you kind of get the fallout of this relationship because it's set in the 90s and it's a very religious town. And Lucy, who's the main character, has a very religious mother. And so you see a lot of scenes of like the religious guilt of having these feelings toward this other girl. You see a lot of idea of conforming, I think is how you say that word, to the expectations of this town. there is also kind of this love triangle aspect to this book. I will say that I think I appreciate from a queer lens of kind of like, do I choose what I feel like I know is the right decision, like what my heart wants, or should I choose the other decision of what I know everyone else thinks I should choose and what everyone else thinks is the right decision, and what I feel like would be the easier decision but really is the easier decision. Yeah, I appreciated all of those conversations in this book. I loved this book. I think I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't quite a 5-star, but this book is written so beautifully. There are some gorgeous lines in this, and I appreciated, I've been reading a lot of like queer coming of age stories recently, and I realized that a lot of the books that I've been reading, the main character comes to terms with their queerness quicker than the other person. And also, I feel like the detriment, like the problem comes from the other person not being able to accept their queerness. And this is more of a story where the main character has a harder time accepting their queerness. And so it's what happens when you try to push away who you are and the self-hate that comes with internalized homophobia. The main character is internalizing a lot of internalized homophobia, whereas the one she loves is the complete opposite. And I've been reading a lot of books where like the main character is the one who's more comfortable with their sexuality, but in this book she is the one who is really pushing it away and not accepting it, and I appreciated that from a different perspective. Oh, this was just so gorgeous. This was so good, and I think that this is going to be a book that I constantly recommend during the summertime. This was such a perfect coming of age, like romance, queer summer story. I want an A24 movie so bad. I can see, like, it really does give, I've heard people say this, that I'm not the first person to say this, it really gives, it's an Irish, sapphic, like, Call Me By Your Name. Like, that's what this feels like to me. And I just think it can make a phenomenal, like, A24 movie. Like, I can see it so clearly. I can see the Pinterest girlies being obsessed with, like, the stills from, like, the beginning of this book. With all that to say, yeah, I gave it 4 stars. Like I said, it's not something that I just see as, like, a favorite, like normal people, but I will constantly recommend this book. I think it was absolutely phenomenal. I don't care. I know it's Pride Month. You should read this book. If it's not Pride Month anymore, you should still read this book. This was really good. And I think that these are great examples of what I mean when I say I am in this, like, literary fiction romance hole right now. Like, I think that if you read romance, like contemporary romance on the regular, these books probably won't do it for you, because there's, like, it's more of a realistic approach, and it's less about them getting together and being together at the end of the book, and more about just relationships as a whole, and what it means to be in different types of relationships, and toxicity and miscommunication and real life. So I think, like, contemporary romance girlies probably might not vibe with these as much, but for me personally, like, this is exactly what my brain wants. So yeah, these were the 2 books I finished this week. Oh, I actually lied. I did not finish 2 books this week. I finished 3. Oh my god. Wow. I don't know how I forgot about this book. I finally read The Deep Cut. I finally read The Deep Cut. Let me give you quickly my thoughts on The Deep Cut as well, since we're talking about it. This is about Percy, who is super into music, and she is not a musician. She cannot play an instrument, she cannot sing, and she's not a writer, but she loves music. Now, I don't know if anyone's gonna get this reference. If you've seen High Fidelity, which is one of my favorite movies, but also one of my favorite like limited series. I like the show over the movie, but we don't need to get into that. It's got Zoe Kravitz in it. The way that the main character talks, she's a little bit more pretentious, I think, than Percy is. I think that's kind of debatable, but the way that the main character talks in High Fidelity, I feel like that is how Percy talks. She's like one of those, like she knows music and like that's her thing. So in the very beginning, she meets Joe at a bar while they're at college and falls head over heels for this man because he can match her when it comes to the music conversation, which, you know, she's never met anyone she could do that with. So her and Joe she quickly finds out that Joe has a girlfriend. So they kind of become this like trio for a while, and Percy and Joe become inseparable, and also Joe is a musician. So that's what he wants to do with the rest of his life. He wants to make music. Percy ends up helping him with his music, even though that she is not an like artist or like a writer, she knows music. So she ends up becoming Joe's, critiquing his music, and that is how he writes better songs. So they become this like duo. This is a story that spans decades, or I think it's a decade, but it spans years, and you're just following Percy. And it is very much like Normal People, where you kind of get this like, you know, like right person, wrong time kind of vibe, which I appreciate. I loved the vibe of this book way more than the actual plot. And I also feel like Joe ate shit. I think that Percy is also, okay, I don't know how to say this to make sense. Maybe it's because you're only in Percy's brain. Percy makes a lot of mistakes, and I wouldn't know if I'd consider her a good person. But she's human and she makes mistakes. And I think she recognizes a lot of her mistakes. The entire time, I felt like her and Joe, this kind of like connection between her and Joe, we were told you had to believe it. You were told that like they had this unbelievable chemistry. I got the whole music thing, and I got that like that's what it is. It's the music thing, and they click on that level. Joe didn't do it for me. And this is one of those things where I think that the movie is going to make me love Joe. I know I hate to compare the two, but I read both, so it's hard not to. In Normal People, Connell and Marianne are both horrible people. Well, they're not horrible, but they're not great people, and they make lots of mistakes, and you're not necessarily rooting for them the entire time. And that is kind of how I feel like the deep cut is. I feel like the deep cut is like that. Like, these are two characters that both make multiple mistakes that you're not really rooting for. And I think the lack of being in Joe's head, I felt very distant from Joe. And that chemistry we kept being told they had was really hard for me to believe. I really think that this is going to be one of those things where I think that the mistakes, I'm hoping that the mistakes and the things that the book lacked, I feel like the movie could make better. But only time can tell. And I don't hate the casting right now. I'm iffy on some of the casting, but I like the main characters, and that's what matters to me. I will say, I loved Percy's relationship with Zoe. I cared way more, and I was glad that there was a big emphasis on it. I cared way more about the trajectory of Percy and Zoe, which is Joe's girlfriend in the beginning. You'd have to read it to understand what I mean. I cared way more about that trajectory and where that relationship was going than Percy and Joe's. But I just loved the vibe. I know I keep saying it. I just feel like this movie's vibe is going to be so good. Because that's what I read it for. I hate this word, but the aesthetic of the book was really what I read it for. So I was okay with kind of feeling lackluster about certain aspects of the story. I love a musically driven, like, character. Like I mentioned, like a high fidelity type character. Obsessed. Yeah, my bad. I literally completely forgot I read The Deep End, which probably tells you something right there. I have 45 minutes left in a sharp, endless need. I will give you like a full, in-depth final thoughts soon. But I'll give you like my thoughts currently. Like I said, I only have 45 minutes left in this book, and I do kind of feel like my thoughts aren't gonna change. Like I don't think my thoughts are gonna change in this book, but I'm just telling you that I'm not done with it, to be transparent and honest. So this is another sapphic romance story, and this is a basketball sapphic romance story. So y'all probably don't know this, but I played basketball for years when I was a kid. I quit my freshman year of high school, but I was pretty convinced that it was what I wanted to focus on for the longest time. So I have a lot of nostalgic feelings. Like I did a lot of basketball camps growing up. I did a lot of my weekends running at the gym, playing ball with my dad. Like it was our thing. I have a lot of very nostalgic feelings around basketball. So when I was looking for like lit fic romance leaning books, I found this book. I have never heard of it before, but this is a book that is set in Pittsburgh. It's like a small town in Pittsburgh, and it is about the main character, Mac. I think it's Mac. She is like a basketball star, basically, like, and it is her senior year, and she is being recruited by a lot of coaches, and her dad passes away in the very, very beginning. And that was like her thing, her and her dad's thing. And so in the beginning, her dad passes away, and at the same time, she meets this other girl who is also very, very good. She's also a star player. And when they meet, there's very clear, like, tension, romantic tension between them. But the other girl, her mom is very religious. And also this town, I think it's set in like the early 2000s. This town is very, very oppressive. Very, very oppressive. They kind of can't be themselves, but they're also all trying to figure it out. So it's a queer coming of age sapphic romance with basketball at the forefront of the story. It's very similar to Sunburn in the sense that one character is internalizing a lot of her feelings as a queer, as a lesbian woman, and then the other character is maybe finding it an easier time. Like, I would say outwardly the main character is finding it a little bit easier to confront these feelings, but the main character, even though you can tell that she's like, yeah, I'm gay. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm gay. And she has an easier time saying like, yeah, like I know I'm gay. She is also experiencing a lot of self-destructive behaviors. Check the trigger warnings for this book. There's some stuff I wasn't expecting. Like sexual violence specifically, that I just wasn't expecting. But so far, I love it. I really love it. I think I'm finding my sweet spot with these like sapphic coming of age romance stories. Like I said, I think the basketball aspect is so nostalgic for me. It's scratching that itch I didn't know I needed scratched. It's the writing could be a little bit more lyrical. I'm a little bit of a snob when it comes to writing, so it could be just a teeny bit more lyrical, but I'm not mad at it. And I will say it's way more erotic than I was expecting as well. So like, it's very I guess like someone literally said homoerotic. I don't know if like that's the correct term for the book, but it feels like it's very erotic. Like it feels kind of like, you know, contemporary romances are like very spicy. This book is very spicy, but not like spicy in the way of contemporary romance is. It's like spicy in the way of like she's figuring out she's gay and she's having those first experiences, and the author just doesn't shy away from showing this experiences. Like, she's not showing the sex scenes in an artsy way, she's giving them to you very rawly. Yeah, I think I'm gonna feel the same way I felt about this about Sunburn. I think that I'm gonna end up giving it 4 stars. I think that it's an absolutely beautiful story. I just wish the writing was just a little bit more lyrical, but like not everything can be as beautifully written as something like Sunburn. I feel like that was a very long-winded like update, but I wanted to give you guys what I read this week because I felt like that would be fun, and hopefully I keep doing that when I do these vlogs. So yeah, I'm gonna go finish. I literally keep forgetting what this book is called. I'm gonna go finish that book. It's only 45 minutes, so I think I'm gonna sit my ass right here on the couch, and I am going to play, like I said earlier, I'm gonna play Fresh Start. I'm gonna keep my headphones on because Jesus Christ, it is so loud up there, and finish that up. And then I think that I am gonna make the plunge, and I think I'm gonna start 7 Days of June because I have the audiobook and I have the physical book. I have it on Kindle, which means I can actually read it on my iPad and it'll like follow along, and I always love when it does that. But also having both means that if I need to do things, for example, I need to meal prep so bad tomorrow. We're grocery shopping and meal prepping tomorrow. And that takes me about like anywhere from like an hour to an hour and a half. That means I can like listen to my book while I do that. So that's what I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna finish that book that I keep forgetting what the title is, and then I'm going to possibly start, I might save 7 Days in June until a little bit later. I know that tonight I want to play Spyro. I want to start Spyro. I have been itching to play just a fun, immersive, like adventure-y type game. I think my mental needs that. I don't think I need anything other than this game. So yeah, I think I'm gonna play this game later tonight. I will read a little bit of 7 Days in June, and I'll catch you back tomorrow morning. I'll give you a teensy bit of an update, even if I've only read an hour, and then we'll see where I go from there. Okay, so I'm gonna do this update really quickly. Actually, I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna put my shoes on while we do this update. So yeah, I ended up going to the pool. I thought it was gonna be rainy, and so I thought I wasn't gonna be able to go out there, but that was my original plan for the day, was to go to the pool and finish up my book and start 7 Days in June, which is what I did. So final consensus on that book I was talking about, I'm giving it like a 4-star. Honestly, I don't really do half stars because I just forget that you can do half stars. If I was doing half, I'd probably give it like a 4 or 4.5. I genuinely enjoyed it. Not that it was a twist ending, but I wasn't necessarily expecting how the author decided to end the story. But I really enjoyed it. And my thoughts I said earlier are all pretty consistent. Like, the ending didn't really change how I felt. If anything, it made me like it even more because I saw the bigger picture of what the story was about. And then I proceeded to start 7 Days in June. I forgot, I actually did read a Tia Williams book before and I loved it. And so when I started this, I was like, oh yeah, no. I'm gonna love this book. So far, I'm only a couple chapters into it. From what I remember from like the synopsis, this is a story about 2 authors that meet at a writing retreat. I do know they are both going through like very, very serious things. So far, what I'm loving about it is it feels easy to read. I've been reading a lot of like lit fic books, so they tend to have a little bit more of a brain power needed. But this book feels deep without feeling like I need all of my brain cells, which I appreciate. I love that she is a like an erotica writer. I love when they talk about that in books, when authors aren't just like the stereotypical author, like they don't just write fiction or they don't write fantasy. Like, I like when they talk about erotica as a genre because it is a genre that really pushes the book world, the publishing world. It really pushes the publishing world, and no one really, I don't know, it's not like a glamorous author job that people talk about. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that she clearly has a chronic illness. I'm not sure about the parameters around that just yet because I haven't gotten like that deep. Just from like initial feeling, I'm really liking it and I'm definitely gonna fly through it. I think I might read a teeny bit more tonight, but I'm either going to watch a movie or I'm gonna watch another episode of Off Campus later. And like I said, I want to start my video game, so I'm gonna do some of that, but I am gonna read a little bit before I choose to do one of those other activities. I just wanted to pop in before I go walk to the store to say that I finished my book and then I started the other one and I am genuinely enjoying it, and I really feel like I have a feeling this book is really gonna hit me in my feels because I can just tell like this author doesn't shy away from talking about real life things. Like, I know this is a romance book. It's not a lit fic book with romance in it. It's a romance story. But I can just tell that she wants to hit you in your feels. So I can definitely feel like I can definitely see that that's the direction we're going in. So I'm going to go to the store. I got to pick up a couple things from just the convenience store. And then, I don't know, the world's my oyster when I get back. actually the next day. It's Friday. It's actually like 6 o'clock. I did not really vlog anything today. We went to the grocery store and then I ate lunch, and it feels like I haven't really done anything today. But I just went on a walk. This is my workout for the day. I got this like 10-pound vest. So I'm listening to my book while I do this walk with this extra weight. And then I'm going to do a core workout, I think. But I'm doing all of this while I read or listen to 7 Days in June. So I'll give you guys like an update before I go to bed. But after I shower and eat and lay down for the day, I'm having so much fun. I'm so glad I bought that game. But yeah, that's the plan for the rest of the night. I am here to end the vlog. I have 2 books I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to let you guys go until next week. But my hair, this is what my hair looks like when it air dries. So it looks crazy. Literally, one side of my hair is a different texture than the other. So I finished 7 Days in June yesterday, and I decided to give it 4.5 stars. Actually, no, I'm gonna give it 5. I keep going back and forth whether I want to give it 4.5, but I do think this is one of those romance books, like contemporary romance books, and there's not very many. There's maybe 2 others that I can think of. I'm very picky with my contemporary romances, and this is gonna be one that I think about all the time. All the time. I did not explain this book properly at all, which I fear happens way too often. But this book is about 2 authors. One is an erotica author, and she has like a vampire witch book series. The other one is he writes like lit fic, basically. And they knew each other for like a very short period. I think it was a week in high school, and it completely changed their entire world, basically. And then this story takes place years later after they like reconnect with each other for a reason. This book is like very, yeah, people talk about all the time about how like heavy this book is for a contemporary romance, and that's probably why I liked it so much. This book was very heavy. Check the trigger warnings. But you know, I loved this book. I loved the romance in this book. I loved the MMC in this book. I wanted to give both of them a hug. Like the entire time, I just wanted to give both of them a hug. Yeah, it's been a while since I like loved a contemporary romance, and in this case I definitely did, and it definitely lives up to the hype for sure. And then randomly I decided to pick up the first volume of Fables, which is a like comic book. I read the first 3. I think I read the first 3. Like there's a bind up of the first 3, and I give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It is essentially about fairy tale characters that lost their land to an unknown force, and they had to get sent, or no, they escaped into the real world to get away from it. And so the story takes place in New York, where there's a ton of fairy tale characters and fables running around amongst New York. It's like if Once Upon a Time in Grimm had a baby. I love it. There's also a Telltale game based off of it as well, but it's pretty different. Um, but the story starts with the sheriff, which is the big bad wolf, and he is investigating the disappearance of Snow White's sister, Rose Red. And yeah, I mean, the first three volumes are a pretty cut and dry um, mystery. It's honestly kind of easy to figure out. It's nothing to call home about, but I can tell it's going to get really complicated in a good way. And I think this was probably just the author's way of like easing you into like who's who in Fable, like the different fairy tale characters and how they're connected to each other and how they feel about each other, so that they're not like throwing a confusing storyline at you at the same time as you're being introduced to the characters. I can see that being kind of confusing. So it's pretty smart on the author's part. I This was so easy to read, and I got it on the Hoopla app, and I think I'm gonna keep reading it on my phone just like at night, a little bit at a time. Because it's just easy to read. It's pretty like brain off escapism in a good way. I don't know, and I just love any kind of like fairy tale retelling story. I don't know. Once Upon a Time is like one of my all time favorite like comfort shows. But yeah, so those are the two books I read or finished in the last couple of days. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this week. I didn't get to watch any of the movies, unfortunately. And I really didn't watch Off Campus at all. I think I'm gonna save it and watch it at work. I honestly just played Spyro and watched Winnie the Pooh. Oh, and I started Hilda on Netflix. Random, but I've been craving Gravity Falls vibes, and it kind of said it had a similar vibe, and I don't disagree. Um, but yeah, that's what I've been up to for the past couple of days. I'm gonna end this vlog now. Um, Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.